To almost everybody's surprise, as I think most of you should know by now, the House of Representatives rejected the bailout package that had been agreed upon over the weekend, and that not just the Bush administration and Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson, who we called on our cover King Henry last week, but the Democratic and Republican leadership and both presidential candidates had supported. And a particular note politically, the bailout package lost by a margin of 2-1 in the Republican caucus of the House. And then there were about 90 Democratic defections, but most Democrats voted in favor. So what this essentially means is that, for starters, the President of the United States is not just a lame duck politically, he's a dead duck politically. He has no political clout of any kind anymore, which is an astonishing state of affairs, and something that the only comparable situation in my lifetime was during the impeachment hearings for Richard Nixon, when in August of 1974, when the tapes came out, Barry Goldwater went to the White House with some other Republican leaders. Barry Goldwater is one of John McCain's heroes. Conservative, wonderfully crotchety senator from Arizona. And he told Nixon, you have no Republican support in the Senate anymore, and you'll be impeached and removed from office if you don't resign. And Nixon resigned. I always remembered that night after meeting with Nixon, Goldwater came out on the lawn of the White House and he said, so Senator Goldwater, what are you going to do now? Where are you going to go now? He said, oh, I think I'll just go home, have 7 or 8 drinks, and go to bed. But the reason this all came to mind was that, not that Bush is going to be impeached, it's much too late in his term for that, and it never really made any sense anyway, but that his political support has collapsed entirely, not just with the public, which has happened for some time, with a Congress that he dominated for 6 years when it was controlled by Republicans, and he had his way with this Congress. So it's an extraordinary fall from grace for him to have gone to the country, as he did a few days ago, and said that this is an extremely serious economic crisis, and that to prevent a recession or depression, to prevent you from losing your home, losing your business, losing your retirement savings, you must vote, you must support this rescue package, and he could not get those in his own party to do so. It's an extraordinary rebuke of his authority. And I'd say that the second loser would have to be John McCain, because as recently as this morning, he was out claiming credit for how he brought along the Republicans, those in his own party, to support this package to rescue the economy. And then it turned out that even the members of the House from Arizona voted against it. There wasn't enough time for everybody to count noses, count votes, to know in advance how this was going to go. So it was a shocking development in the Capitol today when this was rejected. And of course, we had this dramatic decline in the Dow as a result, rally some, I guess, at the end of the day. Essentially, what you had here, just to diagnose what happened, is a very poor sales job in presenting this to a skeptical public. First, Treasury Secretary Paulson presents it as a three-page proposal. 3 pages. This is at a time when government documents are routinely thousands of pages in academia or politics or anything else, it takes 10 pages just to clear your throat. And in 3 pages, he actually seizes dictatorial powers over the American economy. He says that he will have at his personal disposal $700 billion, no oversight, no strings attached, no equity interest for the taxpayers, no protections against Wall Street failed fat cats from continuing to get their golden parachutes. Just in retrospect, an astonishing power grab. Now, at the time, a week ago, I think a lot of people's initial reaction was, well, at least somebody's doing something. At least somebody's stepping forward before we slip into a depression. But pretty quickly, it became clear that this initial proposal just would not be sufficient, and it kicked off several days of intense negotiations where a number of important amendments were put in, and then what was passed had some protections for the taxpayers, had the oversight, and had the other things that were required to at least improve the package. But by getting off on the wrong foot, it's understandable why the American people thought that the whole thing stunk. Because here they were on the hook for $700 billion, which will be put on your credit card. You know, not so much my generation, your credit card, just like the war in Iraq, $10 billion a month, close to $1 trillion in total costs, not paid